You can't speak English fluently because all you do is studying grammar and vocabulary. In fact, you're not even learning if all you do is study grammar from textbooks or online, watch hundreds and hundreds of English learning videos and take notes. And if you're wondering why I can't speak English despite studying grammar, this video is just for you. And it's not a surprise. Most people learn English this way because this is what we do in school. We listen to teachers explaining to us grammar and vocabulary, but then we aren't able to use all of that and spend a lot of our time preparing for tests where our fluency gets constantly measured, and then we leave school without ever being able to have a decent conversation in English. Welcome back to another video from outside, from one of my favorite parks, KLCC Park, in my favorite city in the entire world, Kuala Lumpur. The weather is amazing, the surroundings are amazing, so I thought, why not just record a video and let me share with you all my experience and everything I know about how learning to speak English works, so you could start making real progress right after watching this video. But here's the truth about how your brain learns, especially how it learns to speak English fluently. You're only learning through experiencing what you're learning. And in this video, I'll be explaining to you why getting obsessed with grammar, making mistakes, explanations, basically everything you picked up in school about learning English is a complete waste of your time. Look at speaking English fluently like driving in a really busy city. When you're speaking English with someone, you aren't just speaking, putting words together to make sentences. You actually have to pay attention to your environment, what other people say, so you could react to them when they make pauses. Just like in traffic, you might see the green light, but you can't really move forwards because there's a car in front of you blocking your space. Or you have to be careful with when to turn right because there's pedestrians crossing the street. But most struggling English students don't learn English this way. They spend most of their time studying grammar rules, completing exercises online or in a textbook, watching a bunch of grammar and vocabulary videos, or testing their grammar in exams, which is like reading rules, completing those quizzes and then watching other people driving a car. Does that actually help anyone drive in traffic better? Then why would studying more grammar rules and watching hundreds and hundreds of learning videos be the most effective way to develop your English fluency? And now you might see the answer to why you can't speak English despite studying grammar. The truth is, there are three different types of knowledge, and most people confuse them. They don't even know that they exist, which costs them years and years of learning English. Hey English learner, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chubby. I'm an English fluency, learning and language anxiety coach. This is a channel for English learners who want to learn how to make spoken vocabulary more memorable and how to speak English more fluently, confidently and comfortably with the help of improving their listening skills and their spoken interactions. And if these are topics you're interested in, you'd like to hear more about them, I've already got a bunch of videos that you could watch, short form, long form, depending on your attention span. But make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get weekly updates on whatever I share with you here, anything on vocabulary, speaking and listening skills. And I'm not saying that studying grammar rules is completely useless, but how often did you find yourself speaking and then realizing that you made a mistake, you got feedback on your mistake and you said, oh my god, I should know this, I learned this such a long time ago. And it's simply because your brain doesn't learn grammar the way school teaches you grammar. Yep, you heard that right. And let me repeat this again because this is so important for you to understand. Your brain doesn't learn grammar the way school teaches you grammar. And that's exactly why you might understand a lot of grammar points or you know a lot of words conceptually, but you aren't able to use them effectively when you speak and have conversations, which is what this entire video is meant to help you get much more clear about. Remember, and in this video I talk about this in more detail, The school system that you and I took part in, people are taking part in still, is more than 100 years old. It hasn't really caught up with the current scientific findings. Kids in school still study exactly the same subjects as our parents or grandparents did. And neuroscience, the study of the brain, the study of learning, the study of your nervous system, has been around since the 1970s. And we've discovered so much more about how your brain is learning languages naturally, how your brain is learning to speak a language fluently. And it's got nothing to do with what school actually teaches you about it. Most struggling English students think that learning English is all about avoiding mistakes and speaking perfectly, avoiding asking questions when they get stuck with something, and just trying to figure everything out on their own, and potentially consuming more information, learning more grammar and vocabulary that then they never know how to use. And if you notice, these are exactly the same things that you do as an adult. But if these strategies didn't work at school and didn't help you speak English fluently, then why would they help now? What I'm gonna share with you now is something that about 90% of struggling English students might never have heard of or realized, that there are different types of knowledges that learning to speak English fluently requires. First, we have declarative knowledge, which is to know what. It's concepts, information. It's like traffic rules, knowing what different parts of the car do, grammar rules, understanding what words go with what other words, pronunciation rules. And just like more rules, more concepts, more information won't necessarily help you drive more effectively in a busy city, knowing more information, more concepts, more words and grammar rules won't help you speak English more fluently, because for that you need procedural knowledge, which is to know how to do things instead of just knowing about things. You might know how to eat healthily. You might also have 100 recipes that you've read, but do you actually live and eat healthily? Or you might know how to change gears in a car. You might know what to do when you overtake a car, but are you actually able to do that when you're driving? Developing declarative knowledge requires action. Your brain learns to do something on the go, develops the ability to do something by consistently taking action over time. These three elements are crucial to develop any skill, like speaking English fluently, having conversations effectively. But these are the three things that most people have struggled with, because most people aren't consistent. They only practice speaking English when they feel like it, or when it's something urgent to focus on, like a month or 2 months before an exam, or 2 weeks before a trip they take to an English-speaking country. Most struggling English students don't take action. They are either scared of making mistakes, or they don't really know what exactly to do, so they don't want to waste their time. They don't have the clarity on what's next for them to do. Honestly, most of them hide behind their phones or their textbooks and think that they are learning when they actually aren't developing any skill, because they're not doing it. And probably the most important to understand about developing any skill, especially a complex skill like speaking a foreign language, that it will take a lot of time, and that requires you to have a lot of patience and self-compassion with yourself. But most people give up too easily, they quit too soon, because they don't see the results that they would expect, even though they might not take the actions that are required for that result, or they don't realize that what they should focus on isn't the results, but it's the progress that they're making. And in this world of fast food, fast internet, short form videos, there's nothing for us to get more comfortable with than delayed gratification, which means we might have to put in the work and put in the work and put in the work without seeing the results. Stay patient, because we are still making progress, just because we don't see that we are making progress. And then we have conditional knowledge, which is the most important to know about for anyone learning to speak English fluently. It's to know the when and the why, as well as the how. You might have read all the traffic rules. You might even know how to drive on an empty road when there's no cars around. I remember really clearly when I was about 17, my dad took me out of the city to practice driving, but there's no car around. I was the most confident ever in driving. But you're only actually able to drive well in traffic if you're able to respond to whatever is happening in your environment, what other drivers, other vehicles, pedestrians, or what the traffic lights do. And the same goes for speaking English in conversations. You may know about this word, which is declarative knowledge. You might be able to say this word as well and pronounce it well. Deny, which is procedural knowledge. But are you able to use it in a sentence? You see, that's what conditional knowledge is. In school, you learn a lot of rules, and teachers to this day spend most of their class time explaining grammar rules and practice grammar activities. So there's a lot of focus, too much focus on declarative knowledge, when speaking English fluently requires a lot of that situational or conditional knowledge. And the reason you might find it difficult to speak English fluently, put sentences together with ease, just like in your first language, is because situational knowledge requires a different set of strategies that no one ever taught you. Strategies that require more of a speaking, listening, and vocabulary focused approach. Strategies that actually help me speak English and opt for other languages fluently, and strategies that also help my students gain confidence and fluency, the exact strategies that I talk to you about on this channel and on my other social channels. And if you think, yes, Chubby, this all makes sense, but it's so difficult to speak English. It's difficult to bring myself to actually speak in front of people. It takes so much preparation. I need to make sure that my background, when I have an online class or an online conversation, my background is okay. And even if I am able to speak, it's just so hard to find opportunities. You might live in a country where speaking English isn't something people do every single day, so it's harder for you to get access to it. But the solution is quite simple. You always get better at what you practice by doing it. It's always going to be easier to just consume information and hide behind your books and your phone. There are so many horrible people out there. We have been hurt 100 times by other people. So of course, putting yourself out there, being vulnerable in front of others in conversations, when you have to do something that you aren't really good at, it's going to cost us some effort, some energy. And I know what it feels like, because I used to be extremely shy back in my mid-teens at high school, as this perfectionist student who always got perfect results at everything, and I really wanted to do everything perfectly. I was really scared of other people seeing me struggle, having difficulties speaking, putting sentences together, or even trembling, just because I was so nervous of what other people would think when I start speaking, when I pronounce things in different ways. But then I pushed through, and that's the story I'm telling in this channel and in my business. And if you feel something similar to this, I want you to know that you're not alone. People who actually care about communicating effectively and doing it well all experience the same thing. There might be hundreds of people watching this video relating to this because they all feel the same way. The key is to accept that it's okay to feel nervous when you're having conversations in English and you aren't used to them. The key is to push through these uncomfortable feelings, process them, and build consistency around it, so you could show your brain that having conversations in English is safe. What makes you think that other people are going to judge you, your mistakes, or your accent? What makes you think people are going to have a conversation with you not because they're interested in you, in what you have to say, because they are curious about who you are and how you make them feel? You see, conversations are about connections, not about perfection. And if you need to, because you feel really nervous, just do it for 5 or 10 minutes for a start. Stay consistent with it for a week or a month until you feel more comfortable and you can do it longer. We like to do things perfectly in front of others, so we're scared of making mistakes, we're scared of them spotting that we are nervous, when in reality, every single human being, everything in nature is imperfect. And if you ever make decisions based on what's easy and what's hard, always remember what my life philosophy is. Doing what feels hard right now, no matter how hard it feels, consistently, over time, will eventually make your life easier. Most people operate from a totally different perspective and they want to do the easy things all the time. But when you do the easy things, you won't have developed the skills you need to do things. So that eventually makes your life harder. And if you're looking for opportunities to practice English online in a safe space where other international English learners support you, accept you, cheer you on, you can always join my free Build Your English community, which is our English community with weekly challenges, discussions, and conversation circles as well. Just click the first link in the description below. Join us. Confidence is the number one thing every single struggling English student needs to start working on. Confidence isn't going to fall into your laps all of a sudden. Confidence comes from taking tiny actions towards becoming that confident person. So look at what you do right now and ask yourself, are these activities that basically show my brain that I'm a confident English speaker? And if not, then try starting to do things, no matter how short they are. It could be just for 5 minutes for a start. But are those activities actually showing my brain that I'm a confident English speaker? You will see how consistently doing that will eventually help you gain confidence in the long term. In a future video, I'm going to break down everything you need to know and do so you could develop your communication skills in different situations as you speak English, based on what my program helps my students build their fluency with and gain confidence with as well. But if you have any topic that you find particularly difficult or challenging about speaking English, learning English, feel free to either browse all the videos that I made for you or leave a comment, send me an email. I always love learning more about what you need most help with. So let me ask you, after watching this video, do you still want to, do you still choose to keep thinking that studying more grammar, watching another 100 vocabulary videos, hiding is the way to speaking English fluently, and the only thing you will achieve is basically keeping on wondering why I can't speak English despite studying grammar? Or do you choose to focus on learning to communicate more effectively by working on your confidence bit by bit, practicing conversations, getting actively involved in having conversations as the most powerful way to learn to communicate in English more effectively? Where will your fluency in English be in just a year if you continue to do exactly the same thing that you see isn't working to help you speak English fluently? And where will your fluency be in a year's time if you change the way you learn and save yourself tons and tons of hours and energy on learning English? Where will your fluency be? Or welcome back to my English channel. The English channel. Again, just doing everything you can to figure everything out on your own. Why is it fucking? And I'm not saying that. Come on, which is to develop situation.